Imagine this. You're sitting in a dimly lit cafe, a place where countless couples have whispered love into existence. Across from you, a man and woman sit in silence. Not the kind of silence that speaks of comfort, but the kind that echoes a vast, invisible distance. Their eyes flicker to their phones. Their fingers scroll absent-mindedly. A notification pulses on the screen, and for a moment their faces light up, not at each other, but at the illusion of connection trapped behind glass. Now imagine stepping outside. The streets are filled with people who look busy, who look connected. Hands are held, lips meet, laughter spills into the air. But watch closely. The grip is loose. The kisses lack weight. The laughter is performative, curated, documented, uploaded, awaiting validation. Something is wrong. We are drowning in love stories, yet starved of love. We are more connected than ever, yet lonelier than we have ever been. We swipe, we match, we text, we ghost. We build relationships on the brittle foundation of instant gratification, then wonder why they crumble at the first sign of discomfort. We say we crave something real, something lasting, but at the first hint of depth, we flinch. Why? Why do we chase love, yet run from intimacy? Why do we long for commitment, yet fear its weight? Why does modern love feel like a game we are all playing, but no one is winning? Maybe you felt it too. The exhilarating rush of a new connection, followed by the creeping fear that it won't last. The slow realization that relationships are no longer about discovery, but about performance. That the person across from you isn't really seeing you. They're seeing the version of you you've designed for them. And worst of all, you're doing the same to them. But this isn't just about romance. This isn't just about dating apps or commitment issues, or the way social media has turned affection into a currency. This is about something deeper. Something psychological, something existential. What if love, true, unfiltered, unbreakable love, has become something we are no longer capable of? What if we have been conditioned, by culture, by technology, by our own fears, to sabotage the very thing we claim to desire? What if modern love is broken, not because love itself has changed, but because we have? And if that's true, what does that mean for us? There is a reason why modern love feels fragile, why it slips through our fingers the moment we try to grasp it. It is not just chance. It is not just the times we live in. It is something deeper, woven into the way we think, the way we see ourselves, the way we navigate existence itself. To understand it, we must go back. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote about the death of God, not as a literal event, but as a shift in human consciousness. As faith crumbled, so did the structures that once gave life inherent meaning. Love was once sacred, something bound by duty, by devotion, by a sense of the eternal. But when meaning is stripped away, what is left? Love, untethered from anything greater than itself, begins to float, weightless, directionless, transient. Arthur Schopenhauer believed that love was never about happiness. He saw it as nature's cruel trick, an illusion that bound people together just long enough to create life before dissolving into suffering. To him, love was an impulse, a force beyond reason, a biological drive masquerading as something divine. If that is true, then perhaps the problem with modern love is that we have begun to see it for what it is. Trick of chemicals and circumstance, no longer disguised as something transcendent. But there is another force at play, something that has shaped not just our love lives, but our very identities, the self as a product. Aldous Huxley foresaw a world where pleasure would become the primary tool of control. And what is modern love, if not an industry of pleasure? Dating apps reduce attraction to an algorithm, filtering human beings into categories, selling connection like a product on a shelf. Social media turns relationships into performances, where love is measured in likes, anniversaries are celebrated for an audience, and breakups become public events. The result, we no longer approach love as something to cultivate. We approach it as something to consume. We believe we must find the perfect person, the right match, the one who will fit effortlessly into our lives. And when they don't, we discard them. There is always another option, another match, another notification waiting for us. Jean-Paul Sartre argued that hell is other people, but perhaps the real hell is this, that we have been trained to see other people not as souls to connect with, but as experiences to collect. And so, we stand at a crossroads. We crave depth, but we fear its cost. We want love, but we do not want to be bound. We desire connection, but we have been conditioned to see it as a transaction. This is the hidden problem, and its consequences are far worse than we think. The problem with modern love is not just that it is fragile, it is that it is making us fragile. We don't notice it at first. The slow erosion of intimacy, the quiet unraveling of our ability to trust, to commit, to surrender to something larger than ourselves. It happens in small ways. Ghosted texts, situationships that never become relationships, love that flickers and dies before it ever truly burns. But there is a deeper cost, a psychological weight that lingers long after the relationship's end. The paradox of choice, psychologists call it the paradox of choice. The more options we have, the harder it is to choose. And when we do choose, we are haunted by the idea that we could have chosen better. The more we swipe, the more we compare. The more we keep one foot out the door, the less we can ever truly commit. In an age of limitless options, love becomes an endless shopping experience. We are not looking for a person to love, we are looking for the best deal. And so, we cycle through relationships with the constant, knowing anxiety that something better is always out there. But what if the perfect person does not exist? What if love is not about finding the right person, but about becoming the kind of person who can love deeply? The death of emotional resilience. We have been trained to believe that love should be easy, that the right person will understand us effortlessly, that conflict is a sign of failure. But what if love is supposed to be difficult? Carl Jung once said, "Then till you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Love, real love, is a confrontation with the unconscious. It forces us to see our wounds, our fears, the parts of ourselves we would rather avoid. But in a world that worships comfort, we have lost the ability to endure this discomfort. The moment love becomes hard, we flee. We blame the other person. We assume something is wrong. We tell ourselves it wasn't meant to be. And so, we never grow. We repeat the same patterns, the same heartbreaks, the same shallow connections, never realizing that the problem was never the other person. The problem was that we never allowed ourselves to stay long enough to transform. The collapse of meaning. Love was once more than just emotion. It was a structure, a commitment, a force that bound two people together through suffering and joy. But in a world where meaning is dissolving, love has become just another fleeting feeling. Viktor Frankl, a survivor of the Holocaust, wrote that the greatest human need is not pleasure, but meaning. And meaning requires sacrifice. It requires suffering. But modern love tells us that suffering is a sign that something is wrong, that we should chase the next high, the next thrill, the next perfect moment. And so we float from person to person, never planting roots, never building something lasting, never knowing what it means to love someone through darkness, through struggle, through the terrifying intimacy of being fully seen. We are becoming a generation of people who no longer believe in love. Not because love isn't real, but because we have forgotten how to sustain it. And the worst part, we don't even realize what we are losing. But what if there was another way? What if modern love isn't broken, but we are simply looking at it the wrong way? What if the reason we feel so lost, so disconnected, so incapable of deep love isn't because love has disappeared, but because we have been conditioned to misunderstand it? To break free, we must unlearn everything we have been taught about love. 1. Stop searching for perfection. Start learning how to love. We have been sold a lie. The lie that the right person will complete us. That love should be effortless. That if we just find the one, everything will fall into place. But real love isn't about finding the perfect person. It is about becoming the kind of person who can love deeply, fully, without fear. The truth is, there is no perfect person. No one will fit seamlessly into your life. No one will love you flawlessly. No one will be free from flaws, mistakes, and human frailty. But the question is not whether someone is perfect. The question is, can you love them even when they are not? Love is not an experience to consume. It is an ability to cultivate. And if we are constantly running, constantly looking for something better, we will never develop the capacity to truly love at all. 2. Kill the fear of suffering. We are afraid of pain. We run from it. The moment love becomes uncomfortable, we withdraw. But what if pain is not the enemy? Nietzsche once wrote, "To live is to suffer. To survive is to find some meaning in the suffering." Love, if it is real, will hurt. It will challenge you. It will force you to confront your fears, your traumas, your selfishness. But this is not a sign of failure, it is a sign of growth. Love is not about endless pleasure, it is about meaning. And meaning comes at a cost. It requires sacrifice. It demands that you stay when you want to leave, that you communicate when you want to shut down, that you fight for something greater than just fleeting emotions. 3. Detach from the illusion of limitless choice. In a world of infinite options, it is easy to believe that love should be easy, that there is always someone better out there. But the truth is, love is not about choosing the best option. It is about choosing, and then choosing again every day, even when it is hard. Think of love not as finding something, but as building something. You can swipe forever, but you will never find what you are looking for. Because love isn't found, it is forged. 4. See the other person as a soul, not an experience. In a world that commodifies love, we have begun to treat people as products. We judge them by their social value, their aesthetic appeal, their ability to entertain us. But real love begins when we stop consuming people and start truly seeing them. A person is not their curated profile, their highlight reel, their most attractive qualities. They are a universe of contradictions, fears, desires, and wounds. And the only way to love them is to step beyond the illusion and embrace the mess of who they truly are. This is terrifying. It means surrendering the fantasy. It means accepting the real over the ideal. It means choosing a flawed person and saying, I will love you, not because you are perfect, but because you are real. 5. Embrace the courage to stay. We live in an era of escape. The moment something feels wrong, we leave. But what if the real rebellion, the real freedom, is learning how to stay through boredom, to stay through fear, to stay through the difficult, painful, uncomfortable moments when love is not a high, but a choice. Staying does not mean enduring toxicity. It does not mean suffering without reason, but it does mean resisting the urge to run every time love asks something of you. Because in the end, love will ask everything of you, and only those who are willing to give everything will ever truly know what it means to love. This is how we break free, but there is one final truth left to uncover. Imagine this: you wake up one morning, years from now. The sun spills through your window, warm against your skin. You turn over and there they are, this person you have chosen. They are not perfect, they never were, but they are still here, and so are you. You have fought, cried, doubted, nearly given up more times than you can count. There were nights of silence, mornings of reconciliation. There were days when love felt easy and days when it felt impossible. But something happened along the way. You realized that love was never about perfection. It was never about the intensity of emotions or the rush of passion. It was never about finding someone. It was always about becoming. And in the process, you became someone you never thought you could be. You became patient. You became resilient. You became the kind of person who does not run at the first sign of hardship, who does not confuse excitement for love, who does not expect another human being to complete you, but instead understands that love is the space where two imperfect people grow together. This is the truth that modern love has hidden from us. Love is not a feeling. Love is a discipline. It is a practice, a craft, a daily decision. Feelings fade, passion cools, but love, real love, is what remains when everything else falls away. It is what happens when you choose again and again not to leave, not to shut down, not to seek the next high, the next thrill, the next person. It is when you look into the eyes of another flawed human being and say, I see you, I choose you, not just today, but every day after this. And the most terrifying, most beautiful part, this choice is entirely in your hands. You can reject it, you can continue chasing the illusion, waiting for something easier, something that does not demand growth, sacrifice, or self-awareness. Or you can embrace it. You can step beyond the shallow, transactional world of modern love and into something deeper, something ancient, something sacred, something that cannot be measured in swipes or statistics. You can stop searching and start building. Because in the end, love is not about finding the right person. It is about becoming the right person. And the moment you realize that, love is yours.